Romulus is finally here, and please don't stare. He's very shy, and he's had a very traumatic life. His own host tried to kill him. It is Alien Romulus week, guys. We made it. I'm saving my Ripley getup for my Alien franchise ranking video, but we are joined by my friend here today. If you have any name ideas for him, please drop them in the comments. I am both excited and disheartened to talk about Alien Romulus today. I really thought we had this one in the bag, guys. The trailer rocked, the posters rocked arguably harder, and it was directed by Fede Álvarez, who made Evil Dead 2013, one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It is relentlessly mean and nauseating and just assaults you with front-to-back demon shit. I love that movie. Fede Álvarez has a lifelong pass in my eyes for that movie. And I think people in general were just expecting and hoping for a lean, mean, back-to-basics slasher-type alien film, and those elements are absolutely in Alien Romulus. But there's also a lot going on narratively that I wasn't expecting. Romulus takes place in between the first Alien film and Aliens, and you have this young crew who stumble onto the Romulus ship and unknowingly enter an infested space. And I don't want to come across like I thought this movie was awful. There are a lot of things that I liked about it. The atmosphere it creates in the beginning is incredible. It starts off really strong on this gloomy, desolate planet where the sun doesn't shine. The production design is incredible, and I really only have good things to say about it from a technical standpoint. We've seen so much about the practical effects that were used and how much of a priority that was for Fede Álvarez, which I love. It took 9 people to puppeteer the chest burster. I think Fede was one of them. We've seen incredible videos of the xenomorph, but I also don't want to feed into the whole headline thing of like, there's no CGI in this movie. Of course there's CGI in this movie. It's just really well executed. There's a great blend here of CGI and practical, but I am so glad that they went so practical with the xenomorph because it is one of the coolest parts of the film. Like, he's fucking cool. The xenomorph in this film is scary. I feel like people are really going to be satisfied on that front. Fede Álvarez clearly knows that the xenomorph is its own character. Every time it's introduced, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite designs in the franchise, and there are just so many great moments of like goopy, icky like eggs and shit that I was just eating up. Eating up, not the best term for that. The cast is another high point of this film. Cailee Spaeny, I was so excited to see here. I do wish that they hadn't kind of put her in that light of like, you're taking over the mantle from Sigourney Weaver, because I do wish her character had more to do. It just does not live up to that. She's not as interesting as a character. And though Cailee Spaeny is an incredible actress, she did a great job with what she had. I think that David Jonsson is actually, I don't want to say the focus, but he's definitely the standout of the film. There's something about his character that they actually hid from the trailers, so I'm not going to spoil it. I think they hid it from the trailers, but it makes his performance all the more interesting. People who have seen Rye Lane know how great he is, but I really liked the Andy character here. However, when it comes to taking on that mantle and being part of the Alien franchise, that is ultimately where I feel like this movie is just held back in such a major way and really disappointed me in certain ways. Up until the third act, and we will talk about the third act in a minute, this kind of plays out just like a rehash of a lot of people have been saying Alien's greatest hits with a younger cast. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. The Alien franchise obviously has like a consistent formula that's utilized in most of the films. My problem here though is that it feels like there are no surprises. Every single moment feels completely telegraphed, or like it is so similar to another film that you feel like there's nothing unexpected. The set pieces are really cool in theory, and sometimes they even felt like a video game mission, which is really fun. But other times they, again, just felt like you knew exactly what was going to happen, like I was watching the movie rather than being immersed in it. And then the elephant in the room, we have the big conversation about fan service. There are quite a few instances of it here, and fan service is something else that I don't think is inherently bad. A nod or an homage to previous films can be really fun. But you might have heard some rumors about a particular piece of fan service in here of bringing someone or something back that is getting a lot of backlash. It is indeed in the film. The first time it happened, I was deeply unsettled, and it turns out it's a significant part of the movie. So it happens and you're like, wow, that was offensive and gross. Thank God that's over. And then it happens again and again. And there is a logical reason for it to be happening. Like, it checks out with the timeline and everything, but it's just like, surely there was a better way to do this that wasn't so tasteless. Otherwise, it's just silly stuff that can be fun, like most of the Alien films have someone saying, "Don't let me die." But then there are other things, like there's one line that really irked me that is a verbatim delivery of a very particular iconic line from another Alien film that takes place after the events of this film. So it just totally breaks the illusion of the movie, like the character might as well have winked directly at the camera. I just hated it. I usually don't mind these things that much, but in this case it felt really pandering and lazy to me. And so I think if you haven't seen a lot of the Alien films, you're not really into the franchise, you didn't rewatch stuff recently, this won't bother you nearly as much. If you are a big fan, you might be like me and think some things are fun and think some things just take you out of the film. I actually think Prey from 2022 is like a great example of going back to franchise basics, but also adding something fresh, the anachronism of that film, a different time period, a different sort of protagonist, but it's not getting bogged down in callbacks or fan service. There are little nods through like props or whatever, but you still feel like you're watching a real independent story that happened in that universe. And so there was something here that just did not mesh well for me. The third act, though, I mentioned, I think is the best part of the film, and I think there will be mixed reactions to it. It gets really crazy. This is definitely the most thematically uninteresting of the Alien franchise, which is a bummer. It's actually quite muddled, but we still have the classic phallic imagery and invasive presence of the aliens to keep it vague. And that sort of grotesqueness allows the finale to be fun regardless. It feels like where Fede Álvarez really gets to just do something weird. And I would say he's finally doing something different, but it's technically still kind of something that has happened in another Alien movie, but it does feel like it's executed in a very different way. Some people might think it's goofy, but for me, that was the only time in the film where I genuinely felt like I was immersed and it was something new and I was kind of on the edge of my seat. Overall, there were a lot of things that I thought could have been better in this film. I think narratively there's a lot going on. Some of the editing could also be really choppy in a way that disoriented me during action sequences, but at the same time, there were so many elements that I really enjoyed, and that almost makes it more frustrating that it's held back in this huge way, presumably by a lot of studio meddling in a way that just doesn't let it come together as this cohesive thing. There is this really unique brand of this happening right now where it's so direct and inorganic, and that's what bothers me about it, is that it feels like the immersion of the audience is not valued at all. I still think Fede Álvarez is great. I'm sure this is not the exact vision that he had for this movie, but that's also just kind of the reality of working in the studio system and being handed the keys to such a giant franchise. I think a lot of people are gonna have fun with this. Again, I think the technical aspects are top-notch. It's just held back in certain ways. So I'm going to give Alien Romulus 3 out of 5 stars. Where does it land in my Alien ranking? A lady never tells. You guys told me on an Instagram poll that I did that I should do my Alien ranking post Romulus, so that is next. I'm gonna save it for that video. But let me know if you guys are checking out Romulus in theaters. If you already saw it, let me know what you thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Don't forget to give me some name ideas for him as well, and thank you for watching.